Helen clutches her books and glances over her shoulder as she walks to her class. Entering, she sits down, her face clouded with confusion and fear. Helen, staying in the shadows again? You shine too brightly for that. Students chuckle. Helen doesn't react, but her fingers tighten around her pen. Mr. James leans forward, his voice lowering. Stay after class. We need to discuss your future. In my office. Helen's stomach twists. She knows exactly what that means. Helen is a beautiful young lady with bright eyes and glowing skin. Her smile is wide and captivating. She tops her class every session, excelling every time, always being the first to answer any question in class. This draws attention, some admire her, while others envy her. But Helen is unfazed by her classmates' reactions. She remains determined to stay focused. She arrives at school early and stays late, creating extra time for studying. One day, after class, as Helen packs her books to leave, she notices a shadow close to her. Looking up, she sees a young lady with a candy in her mouth and light makeup, staring at her. It could only be Christiana, the most popular girl in school. You're going home already? Christiana asks. Yes, I am, Helen responds calmly. I was wondering why such a beautiful girl like you still studies so hard. Even if you don't want to use money like we do to get results, you could use your looks. Have you seen the way Mr. Israel and even the very handsome Mr. James look at you? Confused, Helen studies Christiana's face before replying, I can't do such a thing. I wasn't raised that way. With that, Helen walks away. At home, she tosses onto her bed, Christiana's words echoing in her mind. Standing, she looks into the mirror, closely observing her features. She takes in her beauty, but then shakes the thought away and goes to sleep. The next day at school, her mind drifts as she wonders if Christiana was right. Just then, the bell rings for a subject change, and Mr. James enters for maths. While teaching, he keeps stealing glances at Helen. For the first time, she notices, and is shocked. After school, she heads home, even more confused by Christiana's words. She doesn't want to believe them, but she decides to test them. The next morning, she wakes up early, takes out the beauty box her grandmother had gifted her, and suddenly feels the need for it. Applying a little makeup, she heads to school. Hushed whispers fill the air. All eyes are on her. Helen walks by, aware of the many heads turning in her direction. Sitting at her desk, while conscious of the attention, Christiana strolls up to her. Wow, Miss Perfect looking all too perfect today, she chuckles before walking away. Helen ignores her. The first class is maths, and when Mr. James enters, he stops short in shock. Helen lifts her head, meeting his eyes. He stumbles over his words multiple times while teaching, barely holding his composure, before rushing out at the end of the lesson. This continues all day. During the break, in the staff room, the male teachers discuss Helen's transformation. Did she add makeup? The physics teacher asks. Or maybe some lipstick, another chimes in. After school, Helen heads home, gradually accepting that Christiana was right after all. The next day, she takes things a step further. During a history test, she intentionally leaves some answers blank. As she submits her paper, she lightly brushes the teacher's hand and smiles. I hope you give me the score I deserve, she says, then walks away. 2 days later, the test results come in. A perfect 100 out of 100. She becomes a believer. Over time, Helen reads less and focuses more on her appearance. She perfects her makeup, styles her hair more, and pays closer attention to how she dresses. One day, while heading to the restroom to refresh her makeup, she passes the staff room and overhears a conversation. Helen has changed, she no longer reads like before, one teacher says. I noticed it since she started wearing makeup. I can't even concentrate in class. She does poorly on her tests and assumes we'll still give her good scores, another adds. We can't keep doing this for free, the first one says. She has to pay somehow. Helen's heart pounds in terror after hearing that. She runs away, unaware that Christiana is nearby, listening, smirking wickedly. After school, Helen rushes home, shaken by what she's heard. She spends the night restless, terrified of what might happen next. The following day, Mr. James calls her to his office. You haven't been doing well lately, Helen. Helen remains silent. And you know I've been helping you keep your grades up. She still says nothing. I want compensation for this, he finally blurts out. And I need your answer by tomorrow morning. Helen rushes out of his office, panic rising. She finds Christiana. I need to talk to you, Helen says, dragging her aside. Christiana smirks. Now Miss Perfect needs my help. It's important. Helen explains everything that has happened. There's silence. Then Christiana shrugs. Well, you know what he wants. Why don't you just give it to him? I can't do that. That was never my intention. Helen protests. It's nothing, just a little further than you think. Besides, if you don't, the benefits will stop, Christiana says, trying to persuade her. No, I can't do it, Helen says firmly. I'll find another way. She walks away. Christiana watches her go, her expression darkening. The next morning, after much thought, Helen decides to return to her old self. No makeup. No extra styling. Just her natural look. As she arrives at school, the stairs are there, but different. Whispers. Snickers. Laughter. Helen walks past them, confused, and enters her class. Silence falls. Her heart pounds. As she moves to her seat, a voice rings out. Oh, here comes Miss Perfect. Or should I say, our little whore. Laughter erupts. Helen turns in shock. Christiana is grinning. What does that mean? Helen demands. Come on, girl. We all know what you've been doing to keep your grades up, staying after school to sleep with teachers, Christiana says loudly. But that's not true. Helen protests, but her words are drowned in laughter. The rumor spread like wildfire. Then, suddenly, Mrs. Grace, the school principal, appears at the door, her face filled with disappointment. Helen, come to my office. Immediately. As Helen followed Mrs. Grace through the corridors, her heart was beating loud and the stares were increasing. Sitting in the office, Mrs. Grace looks at Helen and said without wasting time, Helen, I have heard some very disturbing rumors about your behavior with the male teachers of this school, and this is a very serious accusation, but it's not true, Helen pleaded. I never did anything wrong. I only used my looks to get grades, Ma. I did nothing apart from that, Helen said, with tears flooding her eyes. Mrs. Grace's expression remained hard. Whether it is true or not, the damage has been done. Parents are talking and they are threatening to withdraw their children from this school if you are not removed. Helen's face went blank as her world seemed to be falling down. What does that mean? Helen said slowly. Mrs. Grace said with a sigh, I have no choice but to expel you from this school, as keeping you here will cause more damage to the school's reputation. The walls hit Helen like a physical blow. Expelled? Her perfect record. Her reputation. Which school will admit her? Her dreams all shattered. Moments later, Helen steps out. The news spreads instantly, expelled. She is asked to leave the school premises immediately since the school was not known to condone such. Her parents, who had been called earlier, and after trying hard to defend their daughter, takes her home in shame. After weeks at home, she finally gains admission to another school, secondary school for girls. As she stands in her simple new uniform, she wonders, what will this school have in store for her? This story teaches that hard work is a better way to success than shortcuts, and also never adhere to just any advice given to you. Once again, this is CARELESS Folklores. Do like and subscribe and tell us what you think in the comment section to help us in future videos.